Oh, here we go.
Ah,
Ready? Look, he's got the twins on.
wow.
He's poking at my Royals too. I
Yeah,
can't.
well,
I think we won 6 games. Dude, we couldn't lose in minor league or in spring training for like the first 2 weeks or first 3 weeks, and then we dumped games at the end, and we kept on dumping games ever since. Royals, that
Yeah,
is Royals.
yeah.
The Rangers are winning over here though. All right. I'm gonna get going on. I'm gonna get this live thing going real quick because I mean, there's no reason for us to waste any of our banter on rehearsal on this, right?
that's right.
Although me and Timmy we're just talking about the Kraken.
Unreal. Second year, winning the first round series, man, that's sick.
Well, I mean,
So,
how much did Grubauer have to prove? I mean, obviously he had plenty, and it had to have been an influence in the situation because man, has he been horrible for the last 24 months.
Yep. Unreal. Yep. Like we said before we started doing this whole podcast. Goalies, man, it comes down to goalies. I mean, it's just crazy how
yeah,
they can just take over a series. I mean, your guy in Dallas, my God.
I know, dude. It's so and like seriously, and like the all right. So we are live, folks, and I don't know if anybody's paying attention at all, but we're all three very avid hockey fans, and then we also have
oh,
picks from the
buddy.
questionable Jack Lowe, and maybe the next time he's gonna make it on. But I'm still gonna get his picks though and everything, and I'm gonna take a shot at him every chance I get because Lord knows he would. But anyways, here we are again for round two. And true to his word, Timmy didn't get mad and say, screw it, I'm not involved anymore. And he's still here with us. And he probably knows more hockey. He certainly knows more about hockey than I do. And maybe at least as much about, probably more, a little bit more than B because you played.
Oh
And
yeah.
so,
No,
and that's
that's it.
definitely one of the reasons why we wanted to get your perspective on any of this and all of it for sure.
Yeah,
So welcome, Timmy.
Well, thank you for
And
having me. Of
yeah.
course, I'm not going to miss out. I'm not going to be a poor loser and whatnot. I mean, you guys won fair and square. I mean, hey, but now I moved on. I'm wearing my Twinkies uni. I'm ready to go for the baseball season, man.
See,
the
but
start of a new season.
Yeah,
now you're not invested in the hockey scores or anything. So now you can think more critically, analytically. I think
correct. And I'm going to still watch all the games. I'm a diehard hockey fan. It's in my DNA. So I mean, I'll be watching it all. I've been watching it ever since. It's not like I just checked out.
No. Yeah, and I same for me too. I mean, I have the only thing that's different about what I'm watching this season from last season is that like the first couple of days we were on the road last year, if I'm not mistaken, because we just slid in and I was watching 4 games a night.
yeah,
I had it streaming on the computer, and then I had what was going on the networks on the regular TV. So I was watching a game at a each on both, and then it was when it made the transition, I was doing the same thing for the second round or the second games of the day. And man, it's again, like I said before, it's like the final watching the round of 64, the NCAA tournament too. I mean, it's just overload, overload, overload.
yeah.
But this is every other day. That's
First
like
round of
4 days of the week. You got 3 days off. This you don't have a day off. Like we haven't
No.
had a day without a game in I don't know, quite a while now.
and it feels great.
That one day is going to be weird too coming up.
It's like the first round of the World Cup. There's like 64 teams, or the Olympics, 64 teams, and they're just playing nonstop. I mean, 3 or 4 games a day. Soccer, come on. All right. Shall we, first of all, before we get into the picks, shall we just do a recap of the first round?
Zip through it. Yeah.
So let's just start top bracket in the West, Seattle, Colorado. None of us got that one right. We all called Colorado. What the hell? Look at those guys.
Well, like that they had 13 people with a goal. And then they had like 6 people during the 6 players with 13 goals or more during the regular season. I mean, they spread it around. So, and then Grubauer obviously had something to prove to the Avs. I mean, I didn't even realize, so I was reading today that he voluntarily left to go to Seattle the year
Hmm.
before they won the cup. Like he could have maybe been protected, but I guess I don't know the rest of the story on that, obviously, but
That's
I don't know.
interesting.
I mean, I don't know why they wouldn't have protected him, but
Yeah, I mean, as far as the Kraken goes, I mean, obviously Grubauer was the story, but when I was doing my homework before the show here, apparently the Kraken's penalty kill is like off the charts. And not to jump ahead to the Dallas Kraken series, but Dallas's power play is what obviously killed my Wild.
oh,
So
no
if the
question.
Kraken penalty kill can keep going and doing what they're doing, Dallas might have a little struggle with the Kraken.
Well, and I also read today that they only took 2 penalties during that whole series, and like, how's that possible?
Wow.
There you go.
Like, does that really happen?
No,
Yeah, I
The
mean,
ice is tilted. Sometimes it's like that.
well, good thing for us, we can score otherwise too. But what were we talking about again here?
We're just
We did get
how the
some
Kraken beat the
sure.
Colorado Avs. The
Okay,
Avs had a
yeah.
bunch of injuries. The Avs had a bunch of injuries, and obviously Cam McCarr getting suspended that one game, and I mean all that stuff. But a lot of their key guys were hurt and they're injured. And one of my best buddies and my coworker at work, he's a diehard Avs fan, and he sent me a big long text. I kind of got some tidbits from him, and he named off like all these different names of these hurt players. And he said that their playoff run last spring, they're still hurt and injured from last spring.
Sure. No
Carried
question.
over for this season, and that's what happens when you go on a Stanley Cup run. You get
Yeah.
beat up, man.
Same thing
it's a
happened
whole
when the
other
Stars
season.
went to the bubble. The same thing
Yeah.
happened to us. Our next season, I mean, Rupe Hintz was like game to game for a whole entire season, and
Yeah.
still he was playing like 2 out of 3 games and then missing one. And Sagan was when Sagan had the hip injury and all that, and like he didn't even come back to the last 3 games. So I totally get it, and I think that I just didn't really think about it as much. Like they were a lot like the Stars were last season this year, but they had that one line that was powerful, and like you can't stop those guys. But after that, if you've got strong D, then and you can at least kind of shut those guys down. Obviously, maybe something will go your way.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, it was crazy seeing the Avs go down, man. I mean, everyone's bracket, if you want to call it a bracket, everyone's bracket busted on that one. It's kind of like Bruins. We'll get to that later, but
yeah,
what in the second hell
there's
happened there?
another buster for sure.
so far this first round has turned out to be like a tumultuous series, a spectacle, really. I mean, the fact that the defending Stanley Cup champs are out, the fact that the President's Cup trophy winners are out again, second time in a row. But now let's move on to something a little more personal between the two of you guys in that other side of the bracket, Dallas, Minnesota.
Well, I was gonna wear my jersey because I am going to the game here after this is over, but I didn't want to just rub it in because like I told Timmy in the text the other night, man, like I'm happy that we won and we moved on, but I'm more happy to see him like right here on the screen with us and coming back around because I mean like that's part of the whole thing with me and Paul too is, man, bottom line, I don't care what comes to this Good Times Hour. I get to talk with one of my best friends in the world every week, 2 or 3 times, and it's cool to see you coming back around too. And you just popped up and were like, "Hey, dude, send a message." And I was like, "Hey, dude, we're gonna get you involved."
Right on. And like I always say, thank you for having me, man. This is a lot of fun. And like I said, I'm not going to bail out. I'm not going to hide. I'm not going to go away just because my team lost. And I have my excuses, which you'll hear in a little bit. But
Well, so what I want to hear this. What was the injury reports? Because like you said about your friend talking about Colorado, that is. People, every time you hear that coach will say they'll come and clean out their lockers, and the coach will go, "I don't want to make any excuses, but here's the list of injuries." And it's like, we're not accepting. That's not an excuse. This is what happened.
Right.
Things happen in the. I mean, shit. Ours was obvious. Joe Pavelski hit the ice, and he hasn't been back since. He's a game time decision tonight. But was there an injury to Kirill? I mean, dude, he scored 1 goal and like he's silent.
Right. Well, that's part of my theory, whatever, is Kirill scored the first goal of the series, and then he went 370 some minutes with nothing.
Yeah,
not an assist, not a goal, nothing. So I'm going to give that to your coach. Your coach put together a great game plan. Not only did he shut down Kirill, but also Matt Boldy. So our top 2 guys didn't do a damn freaking thing. So even doing the chance that we had was our other guys, our role players that kept us in the series for 6 games. But, my main excuse, here we go, the excuse machine. To your guys' credit, your special teams were unreal. Your power play was just sick. And you guys had a lot of favors from the refs. The NHL came out and made a public apology for the refs' behavior, and that's unacceptable. It doesn't make us feel any better when NHL comes out and apologizes.
Yeah,
So-
well, and I saw, that's one thing that, again, I spoke about this last week when we talked about this when we got together last, and that I mean, I almost feel embarrassed like like I was a part of the league or something because I'm just that big a fan, but I can't stand the fact that the rule book goes into the trash. Maybe it's lit on fire and goes in the trash. Start the postseason. You've got the best product. It doesn't. I mean, you don't have to. What are we gaining from throwing away the rules? And
Yeah.
I think that I think it was going both ways, but I think Dean Evison drew too much attention by talking about it all the time too. I think
Totally agree.
that was, and I just wonder too, like how much longer until y'all go ahead like everybody else has and said, okay, no more goon. We're just gonna let this guy go. And I mean, because he didn't bring a lot to the table besides that. I mean, I saw one shift where he hit 3 of our guys, hit him hard too. And I mean, I've known about him for 4 previous teams that when we faced him, he's had, he's been looking for the Stars for a long time, going back to the Blues. But
Right.
he didn't really produce anything but that. And in the end, I think that, like you said, that was definitely y'all's undoing, was just putting us on the power play. Because, man, I mean, we were like top 5 in the league this year in the power play and top 3 in the penalty kill. So
Right. And go back to the injury thing, Eriksson Ek is our best, face-off guy. And without him
one
on the
shift.
penalty kill, you guys just slayed us, man. You guys got all those power play goals. It was just sick. So between the special teams, you guys outcoached the shit out of us. Pardon my French. And your goalie, the kid from Lakeville, Minnesota, Adi, man, he was unbelievable. He was just a stud back there, man. He wasn't giving up rebounds. He was just stellar, man. So hats off to you guys, man. You guys were the better team. I'm not blaming it on the refs. That's just one little tidbit that we use to, decompress and let it all go. But even
That's
like today, our
that's
general
fine, man.
manager,
I mean,
so
it's fine.
even today, our general manager did his, public, a address to the whatever. He was kind of making excuses too, but he was trying to act tough guy, and it's like you were saying.
That's Billy Guerin.
The whole goon thing, yeah, Billy Guerin, dude. The whole tough guy thing, the goon thing. Yeah, playoff hockey, you got to be tough and whatnot, but cheap penalties, yeah, blame it on the refs. Get the apologies from the NHL. Yeah, that's not why we lost. We lost to the better team. So hats off to you, mates.
Thanks, Timmy. I appreciate that. And you know what? I think I love Bill Guerin when he was on our team. I mean, I think that and one of the things that I like a lot as a fan is I love to read about the stuff that the GMs are dealing with. And I'd like to think that I might have been one of those at some point, maybe if I'd have had hockey exposure or something. But even so, I mean, it's just, that's the stuff that's the most interesting to me. So I'm kind of closetly rooting for Bill Guerin to be a great GM too, because he's a great player here and elsewhere too. I mean, he's just the kind of player that caught my attention that I've always liked.
Absolutely, man.
Billy Guerin, a dominant player for Edmonton, at least for my fantasy NHL 99 video game for N64.
Oh yeah, for sure, man. Yeah, he was a stud on there.
Mace
That was dude, one of my favorite players of all time was Kurt Muller, and it was from that game in '94. When he was the badass for Montreal. And
Montreal.
Yeah.
EA Sports, man, they know how to put guys in the hall just based on their stats. So, from that first round, obviously, Mace, you called Dallas, so you get a point for that. I called Dallas, and I called Dallas in 6. So we're doing 1 point if you call the right team, 2 points if you call the right amount of games. So 3-1 in that sense. Moving right along, Vegas, Winnipeg. All of us called Winnipeg. We were all maybe a little delusional, boisterous.
Well,
I don't know.
Injuries were definitely an issue in that series.
Yeah.
For Winnipeg, that is.
Yeah.
I mean, Vegas, I talk about a franchise team, a team that gets the franchise and then is almost immediate. I think they went
the first year to the final.
to the finals. Yeah.
That's
Like that's crazy. But
I mean, that's testament to the way that they set up. I mean, same thing for Kraken. That's a testament for the way that they're doing I mean, think about the way they did the draft back in the day. Think about how long San Jose was terrible. Hello, Bill Sherman.
Or Ottawa.
And tons of other teams that were terrible. And I think that they figured it out. I mean, it really didn't hurt anybody. by giving up one player a team, and that's
Where
pretty
did San
smart.
Where did San Jose get most of their players from, Mace?
Oh, I don't know the answer to that one, Tim.
The Minnesota North Stars.
Yeah, is that right? They took them all.
Some things you just don't forget.
Two reasons you're mad.
All right.
Hey,
let's
well,
look-
you know what? I was getting heckled by a North Stars fan. I mean, by a San Jose fan, like relentlessly, and they were beating us too. And at one point, and it was in the building. I was sitting on the lower level, one of the few times that I've, got to do that. And at one point, I said, "Hey, look, take a look at all those banners up there to your right." And he goes, "Yeah." And I go, "Check out that black one in the middle." And he goes, "Yeah." And I go, "Did my homework, and I found out that they don't make one of those for your team yet." And he goes, "All right, I'll shut up. That's it. I'm not saying another word."
All right, well, let's move on to the final team in that final bracket in the West, the Kings Edmonton series. We all chose Edmonton, so we all get points on that. I don't think that was. Maybe it seemed a little in doubt to some of the wins that LA Kings. I mean, when it comes to playoffs, it gets to overtime a lot, and in overtime, really, a lucky bounce here or there really is. They can determine the nature of the series. So we all chose the right number, the right team. However, both of you guys chose a sweep. Jack Lowe said 5, I said 6. I got that one right too. So kind of sealing the deal in terms of
Ding!
moving
I'm
close
running
there.
away with it here.
But that was a good tough series for Edmonton. I think it takes a while sometimes for the Stars to really shine. So, I mean, sometimes guys can go on a little bit of a hiatus, and I don't know. I feel like Edmonton is starting to hit the groove. I called Edmonton early to that was my early pick for representing the Stanley Cup final, and it feels like they got their groove going on in that series.
Yeah, we'll see what happens with them in Vegas, man. Holy cow.
I agree. Yeah, with Vegas getting the extra rest and whatnot. Yeah, you never know. Vegas is scrappy.
Stones
Vegas is
back.
scrappy. So let's go to the East, the top bracket there. Boston, Florida. None of us called that. We didn't. No,
No one on the planet.
No, I was thinking
No
second round. I think if you made a note, I was thinking that they would go out in the second round.
Yeah.
But I was mistakenly thinking that they were going to meet the Canes to do it, and obviously that's not the case. I didn't do my homework there.
Okay. But I mean, game 7 overtime, that's what, as a hockey player, as a sports fan, as anybody, you live for that moment. Like bottom of the ninth, 2 outs, you hit that homer, overtime, you score that goal. Like, all the kudos to Florida for doing it. And it's ironic that this year Boston is the President's Trophy winner and they get knocked out in the first round. Last year, Florida was the President's Trophy winner. They got knocked out in the first round, not by Boston, but the
All right,
ironies of
Timmy, what do you
history.
think
Really.
about the way that they lay this out too? I can't stand that you got to go through the division instead of the conference. I mean, that's
Yeah, I
me and
agree.
Paul have already talked about this, and I know where he sits about it.
Yeah, they need to go back to the 1/8. The whole traditional way. The whole
Let's get rid of
conference thing. No one likes that.
That's
No.
terrible. Anyways,
Yes.
sorry, Paul.
No, I mean, you're right.
I was just about to choke on that. I didn't realize it, but
I mean, everybody in the world had Boston winning that series, so that would have meant that Toronto finishing second places meets Boston finishing first. In no other realm before this realignment of the playoff format did that ever exist. 1 versus 8, and then they rejig it, but still one always plays the lowest seed until it's the conference finals, and then it's 1 versus 2.
it's
If
just
not-
as bad as the NFL's former overtime rules. Oh, it's sudden death unless you. I mean, if it's sudden death if you score a touchdown. Oh, bullshit! It's a coin flip.
Yeah.
All right, so moving along from that, we don't need to say anything more other than the fact that we all got shut out. That was the only, by the
Holy-
way, there were 3 series where all 4 of us got shut out. That was the Colorado, Seattle, Vegas, Winnipeg, and Boston, Florida. None of us got any points from any of those picks. Now,
Wow.
let's move on to the people who are playing tonight. Toronto, Tampa Bay. Well, Toronto at least is playing tonight. We all chose Toronto. Oh, no, sorry.
No, 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 no.
Jack,
No, no, no. The dude that's texting it in didn't choose Toronto.
Jack chose Tampa Bay. I just saw that. Sorry. The three of us. We chose Toronto. We just chose in different numbers of games. Timmy, you chose 5. Mace, you chose 7. I chose 6. Again, just sealing the deal. Just saying. But my God, Mace, our text between us.
Oh, no, no, no. The phone call. You're like, nah, dude, we're gonna lose this in game 7.
It's
We're
over.
definitely gonna lose this. We got 2 more
Okay.
chances to lose this. And I was like, dude, enough. Stop it. I'm like,
I
or
could
at least
stop
start
it.
rooting for the Stars or something. Pick a team in the West. I mean, get out from under your rock, dude. Come on.
I was in a black hole, like honestly. But 19 years of losing, especially 10 straight of losing in the first round.
So I read an article before while I was waiting on y'all to join me and it's picking the remaining 8 teams and giving them a winning percentage. You want to take a guess at who's in first and what their percentage chance to win the Stanley Cup is?
Please don't say Toronto.
I didn't say it. You're supposed to say it.
Toronto.
Yeah, Toronto. And you know what? Timmy, guess what the percentage is? This is from The Athletic.
Boy, I don't know what the percentage is, but I know who's the third most favored to win the cup.
Yeah, but it's Toronto is at 26%. 26% favorite, guy. Stay out from under the rock.
All I can say is, okay, so when we won the first round on Monday morning, the mood on the street was restrained jubilation and cautious optimism. Because those of us old enough to have our hearts broken multiple times, we remember the Leafs carrying the mail for, quite a few series, quite a few tiers up the ladder. But they always seem to just drive that nail right into our heart, unfortunately.
Okay, we're not going to go through this anymore.
Okay, I'm sorry. I just had to say it though. But
your team won.
We did win, and we won that first round. Okay, moving along. Carolina Islanders.
I will just say, I jumped up and I fist pumped, and I got so pumped for you, dude. I am a Leafs fan going forward. I am a Leafs fan until the end.
Nice.
Love you, brother.
Yeah, I'm pulling for the Leafs from the East too, even though I don't think I picked them. But I'm definitely pulling for the Leafs from the East.
I mean,
it's just so good for hockey. And I think my final pick was Edmonton Leafs. That's the holy grail of hockey right there.
You did. And that's Bettman's nightmare, by the way. 2 Canadian teams in the finals. I mean, forget the fact that Carolina could play Anaheim. That's a great marketing venue, but two Canadian teams.
But the biggest stars in our game.
It's funny. I was actually talking to one of the kids today. This grade 6 kid plays AAA hockey, and I was saying that very same thing, that 2 Canadian teams in the finals would be like Bettman's nightmare, and he was saying, just from a pure hockey perspective, it doesn't matter if you're American. Yeah, you may get turned off by the fact that there are 2 Canadian teams, but if you're a Canadian, you just love hockey. And it doesn't matter what the teams are in it. And by the way, 50% of the makeup of those teams are Canadian boys anyway. So.
Oh, you had to bring that up.
I did. Sorry. That might be a low number. Anyways, moving right along. Carolina Islanders. We had a split decision there. Timmy and Jack went with the Islanders winning, in both in 6, by the way. I said Carolina in 5. I called the right team, wrong game. But Mace, you called it Carolina in 6.
Nice. That's right, Robert Leonard. He wants to get on here too, by the way. We'll have to decide. We'll talk about it later. We'll let you know, Robert. Hope your mom's doing well, though.
So, the fact that the Islanders were in there is kind of a bit of an amazing thing. When you look at the bottom 10 teams in the East, maybe the bottom two are sorry, the last 10 place teams, you know, from 5 to 15. There's a lot of between, say, 5th and 13th. There's a lot of very close proximity with those teams. Any one of those guys could have been in this year. And this year was the Islanders. And I honestly don't think they're there yet. I don't think they can win another series yet. Great hockey tradition on the island, but kind of whet the appetite for Carolina. I don't know. I see them as actually gathering force as we move forward.
Absolutely.
I think, did I pick them from the East? Wasn't that
Yeah,
who I picked?
Yeah,
Yeah, you got them in 6, right?
You said no, but he said Carolina versus Edmonton.
In the final.
In the
Yeah.
final.
But I think I'm gonna change my mind about that, but I'm still gonna stick. I mean, that's set in stone. I
That
mean,
was
'cause
your
that was my
original.
original pick. But I think I'm gonna change my mind about that before the end of this round. Because I mean, it's just, man, I mean, look at, well, we haven't even got there yet, but look at what's coming. I mean, that
Well,
New
let's just
Jersey team.
let's just segue right into that. That went to
Yeah,
game
that
7.
New Jersey team looked really good last night. I mean, holy cow.
All 3 of us called Jersey in 7. That's
Nice.
guy.
Nice.
Yeah. The only person who didn't call Jersey and in 7 was Jack Lowe. He said Rangers in 5.
Man, you know what? I don't think that I was looking at it today, just kind of doing my homework before the show, and I don't think I can pick a round, a game, or I mean a series in the second round that's going to go 5 either. You know, I mean, I don't know that it's that kind of year this year. You know.
So just to wrap up the first round, so among the 4 pickers, Jack had 1 point coming from choosing Edmonton,
So he is only watching minor league hockey.
possibly, or reruns of
At Kemper Arena.
Slapshot.
No, they got the Sprint Center, dude. But Kipper would be the next spot. I've done a gig there before.
I'll bet
Third
you
place.
have.
Right after the flood.
Third place, Timmy, you've got 5 points. That comes from calling Edmonton, Toronto, and then Jersey in 7.
Nice.
Maceman, you got 9 points, and that comes from calling Dallas, Edmonton, Toronto, Carolina in 6, and Jersey in 7. And I've got 13 points from calling Dallas in 6, Edmonton in 6, Toronto in
cheater.
6, Carolina and Jersey in 7. Wow. I could be like the playoff monkey, just calling him a prognosticator. Now let's just jump right into the second round. Why don't we just like get right into it, boys? Timmy, you start us
Good
off.
idea.
Dallas, Seattle.
Well, Mason and I were kind of talking in the pregame show. Seattle's goalie is unreal, and we kind of touched on their penalty kill is unreal, and that's where Dallas kicked the Wild's ass, is on the on the power play and special teams. So if the Kraken can hold Dallas's power play to a minimum, their goalie is going to keep them in all the games. So I think I have here in my notes, I'm going to say it's going to go 7 games.
Hey.
And I think Dallas is going to win it.
Whoa.
Dallas in 7.
Dallas in 7.
Because you guys are getting back the guy that
Pavelski either. Right? They said it's a game time decision. The last I read right before the show, they said he was a game time decision, but he's
so sometime during the series he'll be back.
Yeah, I think that's the case. And I think that, I mean, the talk that I was reading yesterday and today is that they're thinking about putting him on the second line with Max Domi and Marchment.
Speaking of goons,
because of what Sagan did on that first line in the first round. I mean, he was super solid, second top producer on the team, and we're not quite as much score by committee as Seattle is. Like I was saying, that they had 13 players with a goal, and I don't think they had more than 3 that had 2 goals, but I could be wrong about that. But I think we're gonna get that one in 2. I mean, excuse me, in 6.
Mace, you're calling Dallas in 6?
Yeah, I think it's gonna be tough, and I don't think they're gonna roll over by any stretch of the imagination. And obviously, Grubauer's found a groove, and who knows? Maybe he was just trying to prove something to Colorado. thumb his nose at him one more time, but who knows? I mean, we'll see what happens. It is the playoffs and anything's possible. You're in the place, so might as well dance.
I think I feel Dallas. I feel the momentum of Dallas. Seattle, they're on a high. I think, for a lot of the reasons that you talked about, Timmy, that Colorado was kind of an easy target. Dallas, I mean, any team that makes it to the second round, they're going to have their own adversities, and obstacles, but they're going to have a momentum and that belief in themselves. And I just think that, first of all, let me just say, any team that has Jordan Eberle, Seattle, he really shone for Canada on a multiple level, especially the World Juniors. So I think he's going to have some big moments. I think he's going to rally the team. I think Seattle's going to win a couple games, but I'm with Mace. I'm going to say Dallas in 6.
I think we got our health on our side too. Hopefully that holds up. And obviously that getting Pavelski back would make any team, a goal or two better.
And the Otter, I mean, both teams have great goaltending going on right now. And I think there could be some low scoring games. I mean, a lot of maybe 2-1.
You could be right.
Yeah.
Could be right about that.
Maybe a couple overtime games in there too. I kind of got a feeling.
Well, we went to overtime with them twice. We played them 3 times in like 11 days and went to overtime twice with them. So, I mean, we put it to them that third game, but I'm not expecting any kind of a cakewalk.
Now,
it's like they always say, these are NHL players, and now it's the playoffs. So you're not getting there's not going to be any. Everybody acted like this would be the team to get in the West, and obviously they proved them all wrong.
Right.
In
a way, it's kind of like the Leafs drawn into Florida, just like what we think is a dream option. But hey, it could be those and thorns there, So, what does Jack Lowe say?
Oh, Jack Lowe says. Jack Lowe is picking the Stars in 6.
Okay. We have unanimity of opinion on who's going to win, just to however many games are involved. Now, the other bracket in the West, Edmonton and Vegas. Who finished first? Who finished higher? And I think Vegas has got
Vegas.
Don't they?
Vegas won the West, yeah. Yeah, and they had them, I think, what was it, by 3 points or something like that, or maybe it wasn't more than 5. It could have only been 4 actually too, but they did. It was Edmonton put on a strong charge at the end too, and man, I mean, Leon Draisaitl and McDavid. I mean, what else do you got to say? I mean, I don't know how the Kings took them so far.
Yeah.
I mean, how did the Kings take them so far? We didn't even hardly touch on that, and
why don't you start us off with this one? Keep going.
Man, I think this is going to go 7. And I, like I said before, I picked Edmonton, and I don't think that Vegas. I'm not sure that Vegas is, even with 5 goalies or 4 or whatever it is. I'm not sure that Vegas has enough goaltending to pull this off. I mean, because I was reading the article. Draisaitl's like the lead for Conn Smythe consideration out of the first round, and regardless of what he did in the first round, he can score on you anytime. You know what I mean? And he's got Connor McDavid, who they've actually been splitting up from what I just read. But I mean, how do you stop those guys? I mean, maybe at the knee.
Oh, I see where you're going with that one.
I mean, where do you stop? How do you stop them? I mean, it's like if you can stifle one of them, the other one's going to get free. I mean, you can't shut down 5 guys at once. So I don't know. That's going to be an interesting one. I'm going to say Edmonton wins in 7, and there's probably going to be some overtime involved in that series, in my opinion.
Fireworks with those Stars.
Let me just say before we move on, I've just been using acronyms for the teams, the cities. And Edmonton is always, the acronym is EDM. And just from a DJ perspective, that's electronic dance music. And let's just keep the beat going, Ooh, ooh, ooh. All right, Timmy, what do you say in this series?
Well, I mentioned it earlier. Vegas has the extra rest, which kind of scares me. But with Draisaitl, maybe I mentioned this earlier, maybe I didn't. I was reading my notes. This last series, he was on the ice for 12 straight goals. Whether he scored or assisted or whatever, he was on the ice for 12 straight goals, man.
And he said
he's more. He almost influences the game more than McDavid. It's insane.
Wow.
And he set a record for like percentage of the goals scored in the series, I believe, too. It was something I read today too. Like he was in on like 52% of the goals in the series or something like that on for his team. Like, dude,
I
how
also
do you
read
pull
too,
that off? And like, how do you defend that? I mean, Merrill Haskinen's great and everything, but I don't know. I mean, you can just waste him on that guy, and he's still probably going to score 2 or 3 times.
Yep, totally, man. And and I'm not the biggest. I mean, I am an Oilers fan, but from afar, obviously. But the Oilers have a defenseman, this Evan Bouchard kid. I read that he had 10 points in the first series. The last guy that did that is some guy named, I don't know, Paul Coffey.
Might have heard of him. He's pretty good.
Edmonton, the city of champions. Well, I mean, there's some bloodlines right there. So
Yep. So my pick is Oilers in 6.
Edmonton at 6. Okay. I feel like Vegas has really profited from a good brain trust as well as these recent relaxation of franchise drafting rules. The fact that they can take players from other teams. They chose well. They've got a good core. They're a scrappy team. I think they're going to be the kind of team that can deliver a disappointment on a big level stage. But I think that Edmonton is just too good. I think they come at you in waves. I mean, the fact that Edmonton had, I believe, was 5 straight first-round picks. That's
but like, how many of them are still there?
No, I know, but they've got. I mean, yeah, Niall Yakupov is probably not still there, but they still have the Nuge.
Taylor Hall's not there.
Taylor Hall's not there.
And Everly's not there. So there's 3 of them right there already.
Yep.
But I think Edmonton. I think what they've kept. I think the fact that they had those picks, the fact that they may not have all of them now, but the fact that those were assets that they've used to stock the larder. I mean, I think they're deep enough. They just have to avoid the injury bug. But when you look at that 1-2 punch, it really is like Crosby and Malkin, at their top level years. So I'm definitely calling Edmonton, and because I called Edmonton to meet Boston, which I'm out on in the finals. The only question is how many games, and I'm going to go controversial, and I'm going to softball this one for you guys. But I think Edmonton's got the fire, and I'm going to say Edmonton 5.
Nice.
There you go.
Nice. So you know what I'm gonna say? I just want to respond to what you said there about Edmonton. And I honestly, in my heart, I believe the opposite to be true about them. I believe that their organization can't find their ass with both hands in a roadmap. And if it wasn't for Draisaitl and Connor McDavid, they wouldn't be in this position. And that's just how good those 2 guys are. It's like they had those 5 picks and they couldn't make anything happen with those guys. With the first 3. I mean, look, Taylor Hall, he's golfing right now with the rest of the Bruins, and like I don't even know whatever happened to Nail Yakupov, but the Eberle's in playing for the Kraken. So, and I'm not saying you're wrong, Paul. I'm just saying that I've always kind of had that feeling about them because, like, wow, you guys got. How big of an embarrassment of riches is this that you guys had, and you absolutely did nothing with it,
Yeah. It took a long time for them to get where they are now, for sure.
Oh, and Jack Lowe texted in Edmonton in 6.
Okay. We also, wow. So that's 2 straight series we've got quorum on. Wow. Good. Now let's move to the East. We're a little handicapped by the fact that the game is underway. So already score has been posted, but
Oh, I haven't even looked.
Florida, Toronto. Now, since there's 4 of us that are choosing, we've
You want
gone
Jack's
first.
pick right now?
No, I thought I'd go first. We'll give Jack first pick on the Jersey and Carolina.
Okay, cool.
Toronto's.
Oh yeah. Why don't you go
heart.
first on Toronto, Mr. B?
Yeah.
Guys,
So-
please.
So as I said, the mood is cautious optimism. The mood is also at times thankful that the Bruins gave us an early Christmas present. I don't I don't know where Florida really is. They seem to be kind of a schizophrenic team, like a Jekyll and Hyde. Like last year, President Trophy winners, first round shutdowns, but then the best team in the NHL history, they shut down in the first round. So my natural regurgitative acidic pessimism is saying that it's going to be a long drawn out series with a lot of negative vibes from me and most of the regular people on the street. But I got to go with
Wait a minute.
Toronto.
What are you trying to say?
I got to believe, because I think what I've said today on many occasions, and I'm going to say it again, when looked from a certain perspective, when you look at like the kind of the larger, the trends of history or destiny, Toronto has to take the path through Florida to get to the Stanley Cup Finals. So we're taking Florida out, but it's going to be 7, and it's going to be a heartbreaking 7, but it's going to happen on home ice in Toronto. Maple Leaf Square is going to go nuts. Streetcars are going to be overturned on the streets. It's going to be an impromptu holiday.
Did you say 7?
Toronto in 7.
Who's next? Go ahead, Timmy.
I'm going to agree with B. I'm going to say Toronto in 7 as well. I think since the curse has been busted, I think they're going to rise to the occasion. Now the death monkey's off their back, they're just going to be more relaxed. They're going to play that they're solid play hockey, and they're going to do it for their country. And Florida, yeah, last year they were the President's Trophy winner, and they still have a lot of their pieces from last year, but I don't know. I mean, it's hard to say because they just took down the freaking Bruins, which they were supposedly the best team of all time, but apparently they're not. So yeah, I'm taking the Leafs.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with the Leafs too, but I'm gonna say 6. And I think that now that the monkey's off their back, that it's kind of like the second and the third game in the first round, where like if you looked at all those first round games, that first game of the first round, almost every series, the home team stumbled and fell, in one form or fashion. And what I mean, I wouldn't even say that we stumbled and skinned our knee, but we still stumbled, and lost that game in overtime. And then we didn't look. But what my point is not that. My point is that we didn't look ourselves most of that game, And then as the series went on, I think both teams settled back into their true identity, and that was when it was really a true battle. And I think that was the same in most of the series in the first round. And I don't see Edmonton. I mean, I don't see Florida settling into that. I think that they definitely dominated. But I was watching the other night, and Anson Carter said that Bobrovsky could steal a series. He's done it before. Well, I did my homework because I've heard a lot of people praise Bobrovsky, and he gets $10 million a year, but this is only the second time he's won a playoff series in his entire career. He's got a losing record in the playoffs, and he hasn't stolen a series. Like, I mean, I guess you could say he stole this one, but I don't think it was him stealing it. I think it was more Tkachuk stealing that series than it was Bobrovsky. And I don't understand why he's got all that money. I mean, he didn't do it in Philly, and he damn sure didn't do it in Columbus, but they paid him $10 million because there was nobody else to pay, and they had to have a number one goalie. And so that being said, I really don't think that he's going to be that much of a threat to Toronto, and I think Toronto is going to get it done in 6.
Okay, well, I love to hear that optimism. Now, what does Jack say?
And then you won't have overturned cars and stuff. You can just relax.
Yeah, well, maybe so. Maybe they'll get that done before. Well, there won't be anybody at home. They'll all be at home, I should say. Jack picked. He picked Toronto in 7. He said, "Ugh, will they? Toronto 7. Hope so." That was the only one he had any extraneous comments on.
Okay, I'm putting a question mark officially lodged in beside his pick right there.
He did pick 7. He did pick Toronto in 7, though.
All right, we have all been on the same page for all 3 rounds so far.
boy, we're either going to be swinging for the fences and stacking the points, or sad and licking our wounds.
Right.
Yeah.
Now let's move on to this potentially maybe the most contentious. I mean, it's hard to split between these two, but Jersey and Carolina. Let's go to Jack first because he's not here. Let's
Well,
get
Jack has several allegiances, but if I'm not mistaken, well, in the beginning, I thought this was his original team because the Devils were in Kansas City for a brief period of time as well.
that's right.
But he also claims some allegiance to Chicago, and he's got like, I don't know, 30 or 40 jerseys from absolutely no allegiances whatsoever, like from whoever he thought were great players. And he's got some greats, don't get me wrong. But I always give him a hard time about not having a clear-cut home team. But he picked the Devils in 7, and I'm pretty sure this is his team. And so I can see that.
Okay, well, why don't you take the ball and roll with it from there? You can see that.
Well, so this is where I'm departing from my original pick. I'm not sure that Carolina can pull it off against the Devils.
Hmm.
I could be wrong about that, but I'm thinking that series is definitely going to go 7. And man, all right, I'm going to go with what I originally said. I will pick Carolina in Game 7, but I think that I think the Devils are going to give them everything they can possibly get. They can handle, and they'll just barely edge them out. And the primary reason I'm leaning in that direction is because I did pick Carolina from the East to show up too. So there you go.
Okay.
But I think that's going to be a hell of a series right there.
I think it will be too. Timmy, you want to jump in on that?
Yeah, for sure. I'm gonna stick with what I've been doing the whole time that we've been doing the show here. I'm gonna stick with my Homerism. One of my favorite players, I used to play for the Wild. He played for the University of Minnesota Golden Gophers, is Eric Howla, who plays for the Devils. And he obviously had a great series, the first series. And I'm rooting for the Devils. And I think they're going to take in 7. But the Hurricanes, I just read when I was doing my homework, they led the NHL with the most shot attempts, not the most shots on goal, but the most shot attempts. So a lot of them got blocked by D-men and whatnot. So most shot attempts. So the goalie, what's the goalie's name for the Devils who just tore it up last night?
Smith.
Yeah, Smith, man. That glove save that he brought. Oh, dude, it was like SportsCenter top 6 or whatever. What a save, man. So it's gonna be a tight series. I think the Devils in 7. And I hope Eric Holla, my boy from the Gophers, I think he can do some damage because he was great for the Wild way back in the day. And let's hope he can do it. And I'll continue my Homerism.
All right, that's a good Homerism for sure.
It didn't work for the Islanders with my boys.
Yeah, I mean,
but,
having people over to the barbecue at Timmy's house obviously doesn't pay off, but I'm sure you got full before he left. Hey, and I'll come over for barbecue at your house for sure.
Anytime, man. Come on up.
Now,
35W all the way, man. It's all good.
I would normally
16 hours.
I think if on any other day, I probably would have said Carolina's got the edge on this one. But I don't know. I just think Jersey is a team on the grow. They're a young team. This is new, rare limits for them. Sometimes when you get like a new young team that's just bubbling and percolating and all firing on the right cylinders at the right time, sometimes they falter and sometimes they go. And I think this is the time where they're going to go. And I think Jersey is. I think they're feeling strong. I think they finally got belief. This is a young core. They beat the Rangers. They're hated crosstown rivals in 7. They've got all of the East Coast basically on their side. I honestly think they're going to be. I'm going to say Jersey in 6. I think Carolina's going to win a few, but I'm putting it right down there. 6. Boom.
It's going to be a battle for sure. I mean, one of the factors is Timo Meier too. I don't know if you watched that game last night, but man, Trouba knocked him out damn near. I mean, put him on his ass for sure. And he came back out to the bench and he went through the handshakes, and it was really cool to see them both like really spend some time talking to one another. Because I don't know that maybe he just doesn't remember. Who knows? But I'm not sure if I'd be that much of a sportsman. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
I mean, I have the greatest respect for that. Don't get me wrong. I'm just, being honest about, I don't know what my reaction would be in that situation.
It is pretty amazing. I mean, Timmy, you played hockey at some fairly high levels, so you know this. But for Mason and I, we're just, I mean, our closest experience is either being at the Reunion Arena or playing in '64. The lineup when when guys get up there and they shake their hands and you see two dudes who, like, maybe it's the goaltender and the top scorer, or two goaltenders or whatever, two captains, the stuff they say on the ice, the fact that first of all, that they do that they shake hands. You don't get that in baseball, you don't get that in football, you don't get that in the other sports. These are guys who, like, literally, this guy almost drove his helmet through another guy's rib cage, and then they line up and they shake hands and they're like, go get him, bro, go get him for us, please. That's amazing.
That's hockey for you, man. It's in your DNA. It's just how we were born. You start skating at 2, 3 years old. It's just how you're bred as a hockey player. It just is. There's some trash talking for sure, but there's
yeah.
class with it, and there's a respect to it. So, I'm not gonna sit and say I'm the holy grail of hockey or whatever, but it's like there's just a very deep respect of hockey, and and the whole handshake thing when the series is over, everyone, it's like, hey, you're the better man, you guys won, hat off. I mean, the whole deal. It's just, there's a class to it. It's just awesome.
That's one of the reasons I really gravitated towards UFC as well, because those guys talk a lot of shit, but they are all about sportsmanship when it's over. Almost every one of them. I mean, I've seen very few fights where they weren't handshakes and hugs and having a chat before anything else happens. Immediately after that fight. And it's. I mean, I got the ultimate respect for the fact that they line up and they talk it over. And Klingberg's not the most popular guy in town, but he certainly was one of the most popular guys in that line the other night. And
Sure.
like Jamie Benn, and he agreed to not text till the series was over. So apparently they're still super tight. And
for sure.
and so that I think that's just amazing, that sportsmanship, and and that there's just so many cool things about that. I wish I would have experienced this, as a kid, at least get that experience in. And so, I just have to watch and read and enjoy and make a whole lot of noise.
Absolutely, absolutely. And just going back to the Devils, I mean, Jack Hughes, I mean, that dude's coming into his own, and not just as a superstar player, but he's a leader of that team.
For
So
sure.
to see him kind of grow as a leader, not just, the superstar point scorer guy, he's a leader of that team now. So, and with Eric Holla, my boy, he's about, I don't know, 8 or 10 years older than Jack Hughes, and he's kind of, mentoring him into the whole role of being a leader. So that's why I picked the Devils in 7.
Nice. I mean, that's one of the most important things is continuity, organizational competence, the fact that you can have that generational passing of leadership award, that sense of, and in the same way bad karma can be passed along too in the locker room. I mean, this is the real value of having a great captain, or at least great leaders in the room.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, boys, that was, I think, a successful second round picking. We'll see as we go along. Timmy, I hope you can also join us again for the third round when we do our.
I would love to do it.
Hey, so I just got word. So we had a little bit of a scheduling conflict going on, so we don't have a show for tomorrow. So we're taking the week off from here, but we got Pete May scheduled next Wednesday night, 8:00 Eastern time.
Nice.
And it looks like we'll have, I believe we're gonna get Harold the following week on Thursday, and then hopefully Andy Lehman Young right after that on a Wednesday, the third week, and then we'll make it up from there. But
All right.
we're continuing to try to move forward, and thanks for tuning in, everybody that stopped by to see us on Facebook. We got several different folks that stopped by, which is really cool. And this is all, by the way, if you're listening, you're watching, or you're just tuning in now and you're bummed that you missed it, you can always check in and check the recording out on my Facebook page, and we'll also be moving that over onto YouTube in the next couple of days as well.
Nice. Yes, guy.
So, thanks for stopping by, Timmy. Good talking with you as always, Paul. And I'm gonna go get my jersey and head to the game.
He's going to the game, buddy.
Good luck to your team,
Oh.
boys. I'm rooting for both of you.
Right
Not
on.
so much the Stars, kind of, but I'm rooting for you, Mace. But go Leafs, and I really want to see that Leafs Edmonton. I mean, that would be so huge. I mean, as a hockey fan, like B was saying, that'd be so awesome. But
That
go
would be
Stars,
so
go
good.
Leafs, because I want you guys to be happy. So if the Stars make it to the finals, I think I probably would root for them.
I'm
But-
guessing you'd have to. I mean, it's a Western Conference thing. Come on, you know. If the
Yeah,
Wild made it to the
yeah.
final, I'd root for them too. I mean, it's the
Right on.
I'm loyal to the. I can't. There was a team recently where I was like, yeah, but I can't root for them, but I can't remember who it was now.
Blackhawks.
Probably the Blackhawks.
It could have been.
Do
It's the
Stars
Blackhawks.
fans still hate the Blackhawks? Is that when they were the North Stars? I mean, the
Yeah,
Hawks were
yeah,
ours,
but you
not
know,
the-
it's well, I mean, it's kind of dwindled recently. But you know what's one thing that's gone away completely? It's like we used to hate the Red Wings too, and like
Yeah.
since they went to the Eastern Conference, whatever.
Yeah, exactly. All right, guys. Thanks for having me. Greatly appreciate it, and
Thanks,
good luck
Timmy.
to your teams.
All right,
Yeah,
cool
brother.
guys. We'll talk to y'all later.
Take
Peace.
it easy, guys.